Pattrick Smellie, Director from Business Desk, is with us for his first panel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here, along with Deborah Pead, founder of Pead PR and Panel Pro. Been here a couple of times now. Deborah, good to have you back.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, let's start with the City Rail Link. This morning we heard through a Herald reporting the peak time patronage of the new City Rail Link, which will open hopefully in about a year's time, is down by about 8,000. So I think 27,000 down to 19,000 compared to what we were told a couple of years ago. Does this mean, I read this and I go, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have spent all those billions of dollars, but I'm sure that's an overreaction, Pattrick.
I'd have thought so. I mean, I'm from Wellington. I've just got train envy. I mean, I had a look at this morning. It seems to me what they're basically saying is that when they start the scheme, when they start the new service, they anticipate that there'll be growth in the number of people using it, and they're starting it at 19. If more people want to use it, they'll add a couple of carriages. I mean, it's just a question of how long the train is, basically. I'd just take a chill pill about the whole thing. I mean, the idea that this massive thing that's been going on, seems like forever, which has been mucking up central Auckland, it will be transformational for the central city. And you've got Chris Bishop this week saying we want apartment buildings built on top of these railway stations. The idea that it's not going to be heavily patronised and going to change the way that Auckland works, I just wouldn't lose any sleep over 8,000, 19,000, 27,000. The biggest issue is going to be when more and more people start using it, they're going to have to actually do more work to make it capable of taking the numbers.
And we're going to have to spend more money too, was the other point that was made in this story, to actually grow that capacity.
Yeah, I agree. I think the mindset, build it and they will come. I do hope this isn't a case of overhype and overpromise, as politicians are wont to do to get those budgets. But I live in the city. I've downsized to an apartment in Auckland. Our offices are in Queen Street, and I want the city, I want these pavements pulsing with people again. And I have a lot of hope that this will bring people back into the city. So, I certainly hope it's not going to be a ghost train. I don't think it will.
Very much.
But let's support it. Let's back it, and it will grow. It will grow in time. We need it.
Now, speaking of growth, Anna Wintour has been the head of a beast in Vogue magazine and has announced overnight that she will be stepping down, which is massive because so much of Vogue and the brand is tied up with and around her. Does this change much for the magazine? I mean, how significant is it for the magazine?
I presume it's an intergenerational change. I mean, I looked at this and thought, well, she's clearly decided that if the President of the United States is going to wear a silly red hat all the time and you can get Elton John glasses at Specsavers, why continue?
It's a funny old thing, because I actually was thinking this morning when I read the story, thought, I was kind of surprised that she had stayed this long with the brand because of the readership of magazines and all that kind of stuff. But she's really stuck it out.
Oh, look, she is the grande dame of a 365 billion fashion industry. And there's an expression in publishing, the editor's word is final. When it comes to Anna Wintour, it's the editor's word is absolute. She has launched careers, she has decided fashion trends, she's politicized fashion, she is fashion. And what she's done with Vogue is simply not a magazine, it's an entire way people dress, think and behave. And but we were talking about this off air. I think all good leaders know when it's time to step down and pass on the baton. And there's new generations coming up, new formats of Vogue might be on TikTok, it might be, look at Herald Now, a brand new format. And I think we might see something different with Vogue ahead. But she's one of the most recognizable people in the world, and she has made an amazing impact on fashion.
Yeah, really well said too. It'd be interesting to see who takes the reins after her as well, whether it's someone that she's been grooming for the role, or whether it's somebody from outside. We will wait and see. Guys, Jeff Bezos is having his wedding, so lots of really rich people wearing loafers in Venice at the moment, and a lot of attention from protesters saying if you can afford to have this massive, big, expensive wedding, Oprah's coming, and everyone's going to be there basically from LA. Mick Jagger's going, Bill Gates is there. So a lot of people are saying, look, if you can afford this big wedding, then you can afford to pay more tax, and they're sort of trying to destroy the wedding, or stop the wedding from happening. At the same time, we've got Helen Clark and former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown calling for current leaders to close the wealth inequality gap. Do we have a problem globally, in the Western world, with wealth inequality?
Absolutely. I mean, that's inarguable. The extent to which a very small number of people have amassed an enormous amount of wealth, particularly in companies, tech companies in particular, which cross borders, and therefore governments can't really chase their revenue because the revenue ends up somewhere else. It slides all over the world. It's a toxic combination, particularly when you consider the impact that some of these technologies are having on society. How do governments regulate social media, and how do governments actually get these guys to pay some tax? Two of the biggest questions for the next 20, 30 years, I think. I think this is why globalisation has basically failed. It wasn't supposed to give us a whole bunch of megalomaniacal billionaires on top of an enormous amount of wealth that was supposed to lift all boats. It hasn't done that.
But that wealth is based on valuations, which, I mean, are the valuations worth the paper they're written on?
Well, I guess Elon Musk's about to find that out. I mean, he's in terrible trouble with Tesla, and now he's had a couple of rockets explode. And I see in the media this morning, international media this morning, some suggestion that SpaceX may be in trouble as well. So, yeah, these things can disappear in a heartbeat. I guess the thing that strikes me about the Bezos wedding is that despite having all that money, he still can't get that 10-year fixed.
I agree with much of what Pattrick has said, but also, this is the 1% being the 1%. And I've learnt over the years that there's two types of wealth. There's stealth wealth and there's flash cash, and we know which one he falls into. I mean, when your own yacht has its own private yacht attached to it, you know that we are so disconnected from the 1%. And of course, the calls for higher taxation are legitimate. There needs to be some reform in this area, but complaining about someone's wedding's not going to cut it.
No. But so is there a thing where we say, well, it's the 1%, but then the 1% becomes the 5%, and then becomes the 20%, and then becomes, the top half of income earners, and, you start looking for taxes in all these different places, and then you do start to discourage people from, there's the old argument about incentive.
That's a legitimate argument, but I think we're talking about the 0.1% here with these guys, and the extent of the wealth imbalance that's being created is actually having social impacts and political impacts. One of which is, I think, the rise of the far right in Europe, the re-election of Trump. These are trends which are, it's not all Jeff Bezos' fault, but the way that people in the bottom 50% in particular feel about their prospects is going backwards. And so these guys become, I guess, a target in a sense. They're a political target. I mean, I agree with Deborah. I mean, let the guy have his wedding, whatever.
Yeah.
Wedding cake for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be a good wedding cake too, you can be sure of that.